So we are discussing the NEET 2024 bio paper. The version what we are solving is the Q1 version of the paper. Now, in this, the first question is the match the column type of question. You will have Rhizopus, which is the bread mold. So A would be 3. Eustallago is the smut. So B would be 2. C would be 4, which is the Puccinia rust, and Agaricus is mushroom, that is D1. So it is A4, B2, C4, A3, B2, C4, and D1. That is option number 1. A is your coleoptile, and B would be your your plumule and all. D would be coleorhiza, and C is radical. Now they have asked you which part forms the fruit. C shows the radical, so answer would be option number 3, which is the radical. Lecithin is an example of a phospholipid found in your cell membrane. So the question for lecithin is option number 2. We go to the next one. Again, it is a match the column. When 2 or more alternative forms of genes exist, that is an allele. So it will be A3. Now, if you see, there's only one option with A3 there, which is option number 3. So answer in this case automatically becomes option 3. But cross of F1 with recessive parent is test cross. So B would be 4. Cross off with any one parent is back cross. So C would be 1. And ploidy is the number of chromosomes. So that again is a match with option number 3. A transcription unit is defined primarily by 3 regions. There is a promoter, which is upstream. There is a structural gene, and there is a terminator. So in this case, our answer would be option number 4. Auxin cannot act on grass because auxin acts only on mature dicot, does not act on mature monocot. So in this case, the answer would be 3. Major causes of biodiversity loss would be over exploitation, would be co-extinction. Then you would have habitat loss. The other two, C and E, are not the ones which are the causes. So it will be A, B, and D, which is option number 4. Clostridium botulicum gives you butyric acid, which is A3. Saccharomyces gives you ethanol, which is C1. Now B1. Trichoderma is responsible for cyclosporin, that is C4. And A3, B1, C4, and D2. So A3, B1, C4, and D2 is option number 3. Spindle fibers get attached to kinetochores during the metaphase, where spindle apparatus is completed. Actinomorphic flower is datura, so answer would be 1. Zinc is the cofactor for carboxypeptidase, so answer would be option number 1. Nucleolus is the rRNA formation, so A would be 3. Centriole shows the cartwheel organization, so B would be 2. Leucoplast store food, so C4, and Golgi is for glycolipids, so D1. So it'll be 3, 2, 4, 1, and 3, 2, 4, 1 is option number 1 in this case. We go to the next question. Totipotency is the ability to regenerate the entire plant. The recognition sequences for all restriction enzymes would be 6 base pairs, so answer would be option 2. Vallisneria is water pollinated, so it is not nectar producing. Water lily is insect pollinated, so this is correct. Water pollinated species have a mucilaginous covering for preventing wetting, so this is correct. Ribbon-like is found in plants called as Zostera, which is a hydrophyte. And pollen grains are carried passively again by, in case of Zostera, which is seagrass. So B, C, D, and E, B, C, D, and E, which is option number 4. Parenchyma is living and collenchyma is also living, so this statement is a wrong statement. Gymnosperms lack vessels, but vessels are characteristics of angiosperms is a correct statement. So in this case, the first statement is incorrect, but the second one is correct. Answer would be option number 4. Formation of interfascicular cambium from fully developed parenchyma. Parenchyma are an example of permanent tissue, and when a fully developed parenchyma forms cambium, this is an example of a process of dedifferentiation. So answer would be option 3. Succinic dehydrogenase gets inhibited because of malonate, which is a competitive inhibitor. So option 3. Both these examples are of perigynous flowers. Both these diagrams are of perigynous flowers. So option would be 4. In plant, they have given you black seed color is dominant over white seed color. If you want to find out the genotype of black seed, we do something called as test cross, and test cross is a cross with the recessive parent. So the answer would be option number 2 in this case. Now, the tropics which are there don't show a lot of species richness, because tropics are comparatively longer, so they have relatively more. They are not more seasonable, they are less seasonable. They are near the equator, more solar energy. They have constant and predictable environment which provides niche specialization. So except the B statement, all the other statements are the true reasons. So answer would be option number 1. Here they have asked you what does K stand for. K basically is nothing but your carrying capacity of the area. So that is option number 3. They have asked you thin outer walls and thick inner walls. Thin outer walls and thick inner walls are generally seen in guard cells. The line C is basically the guard cell. So answer would be option number 1 in this case. Chromosomes become gradually visible under light microscope during leptotene. Yes, leptotene mein the chromosomes start to become visible. The beginning of diplotene is recognized by dissolution of synaptonemal complex. This is also correct. So both the statements are true. So answer would be option 1. The list of endangered species is International Union for Conservation of Nature. That is IUCN. That is the list. Dark reaction would not need light, would not need chlorophyll, would require these 3 factors. That is C, D, E. So answer would be option number 3. Now here they have said that in the next question, they have said that you have to take the threatened species out of the environment. If you're taking the threatened species out of the environment, it can't be in situ. It can't be semi-conservative. It can't be sustainable development. It is ex situ conservation, and ex situ conservation is in a way, biodiversity conservation. So here the answer would be option number 2. The next question says, what is the fate of the piece of DNA carrying only the gene of interest? Now, the line in your textbook says, when you put an alien gene, the alien gene cannot replicate on its own unless it begins to integrate and become a part of the genome. So it can't replicate on its own. So this statement can't be correct because it can't replicate on the own. So this is A option gets ruled out. A statement is wrong. If you go to see, even E statement in a way is not a correct statement because it shows the ability to replicate. That's not true. So the line is, it may get integrated into the genome of the recipient and then it may multiply. Both the lines say it may. So the B and the C statements are correct. D is a correct statement, but there's no option where we can get this. So we can mark the answer option number 3 in this case. Lactose enters into the cell with the help of an enzyme called as permease. So the answer in this case would be option number 3. This question talks about which are the statements which are explained by law of dominance. Now, if you see your NCERT, the lines which are given under law of dominance is about the dominant and recessive factors occurring in pairs. The particles are called as factor, and there is only one character which gets expressed in the parent of the monohybrid, in one of the parent in the monohybrid cross. So expression of only one of the parental character in a monohybrid cross. ACD. So these are the statements which ACD and E are the statements which correct. Alleles do not show any expression and both the characters appear as such. Now that is not true in this case because alleles express in F2. Here the line says alleles do not show expression. That's wrong. Alleles express in F2. So statement B is not correct. Whereas you have A, C, D, E are correct. There's only one option with that. That is option number 2. Mode of nutrition for all fungi is the same. So mode of nutrition is not the criteria. They have said which is not the criteria. Mode of nutrition is not the criteria. Next, Bt toxins are insect group specific and are coded by Cry1AC. That's a correct statement. Whereas the gene does not become, the toxin does not become because of acidic pH. It becomes active because of alkaline pH. So this statement is wrong. So statement 1 is correct and statement 2 is false. So answer would be option number 3. Bulliform cells are found in monocot leaves. They help in curling by losing water. So it's inward curling, which is option number 1. A pink flower snapdragon was crossed with a red flower. Pink flower would have a genotype of capital R, small r, and red would have capital R, capital R. If you do the cross, you get 50% pink and 50% red. So red flower as well as pink flower would be obtained. So option number 2. Total we use, the next question, in dark reaction to fix 6 CO2, we use 18 ATP and we use 12 NADPH. So per CO2, we use 3 ATP and 2 NADH, which is option number 4. Now, Robert May was responsible for giving the conservative figure of 7 million, which is A of Mark 3. Alexander von Humboldt was responsible for giving you the species area relationship graph, that is B1. Paul Ehrlich was responsible for your river popper hypothesis. So C would be 4. C would be 4. That's correct. And David Tillman was responsible for your outdoor plot wala Tillman experiments. So D would be 2. So it'll be 3, 1, 4, and 2. 3, 1, 4, and 2 will be option number 2. This is the example of corn cobs, and corn cobs are wind pollinated and they show exposed stamens. So the corn cob is the example of this diagram. So option 1 would be the answer in this case. Frederick Griffith was for transformation. So A would be 3. Jacob and Monod gave the Lacoperon. So B would be 4. Genetic code was deciphered with the help of Hargobind Khorana, and Messelson and Stahl would be semi-conservative method. So it's 3, 4, 1, and 2. 3, 4, 1, and 2 is option number 2. Length of sugarcane stalks is increased by gibberellins. So answer would be 2 in this case. Now, next, if you see plum rose peach, so perigynous, so A would be an example of 2. P is marginal placentation, so 4. Cotton is twisted and mango is droop. So D would be 3. So it's 2, 4, 1, 3, which is option number 1 in this case. We go to the next question here. Asexual reproduction occurs usually. So they have asked you what is true for Phaeophyceae. Asexual reproduction is shown by biflagellate zoospores. So that's correct. Sexual reproduction is by oogamous only. That's wrong. There is iso as well as aniso. This is a wrong statement. Mannitol laminaria is correct. AC, carotenoids and xanthophyll is correct. Algin and cellulose is correct. So statement A, C, D, and E are correct regarding this fungi, or rather brown algae. So answer would be option number 3. Succinyl coenzyme into succinic acid does not involve oxidation. It is basically the GTP forming step. So they have asked not involved oxidation. So answer would be option number 3. Next, in C3 plants, some oxygen binds to rubisco, hence CO2 fixation is decreased. It's a correct statement. Here, the next line says mesophyll cells show little photorespiration, whereas C4 plants don't show photorespiration. So this is a wrong statement. So the first statement is true and the second statement is false. So answer would be option number 3 in this case. We go to the next one, which is a match the column. GLUT4 is responsible for glucose transport. So A would be 4. Insulin is your hormone. So B would be 1. Trypsin is an enzyme. So C would be 2. And collagen is the intercellular substance. B would be 3. So it will be 4, 1, 2, 3, which is option number 1 in this case. Next, we go to monoadelphous. Monoadelphous is something which is seen in case of lily. So A would be 4. Then diadelphous is in P, so B would be 2. Polyadelphous is citrus, so C would be 1. And epiphyllus is something which is seen in case of lily. So it's 4, 2, 1, 3, which is option number 1. In chloroplast, the DNA is double-stranded and circular like prokaryotes. So this is option number 2. Now, net primary productivity of the first trophic level. If it is 100, then the gross which is received is 10%. The gross which would be received by the second trophic level would be 10. If the gross received by the second trophic level would be 10, they said net. So the gross available to the second trophic level would be the 100 of it. Not so 100 would be received by the T2 level, because it's the net. Now, out of that 100, T2 will use only 10. So the net primary productivity of T2 would be 10. And T3 will receive that entirely. So T3 will receive 10 out of this. So answer for this would be from 100x, 10x would be available as gross, because the passed on would be, the energy passed on would be 10% of that. So there is an energy loss which would take place from one trophic level to the other trophic level. So if the net primary productivity is 100x, the GPP which will go to the third trophic level, they have said GPP, would be 10x. We go to the next question. Which of the following are fused in somatic hybridization involving two varieties of plants? Fusion occurs of protoplasm, which is 148 for 3. Next, citric acid. They have told you to match citric acid as cycle occurs in the matrix. So A would be 2. Glycolysis occurs in the cytoplasm. So B would be 1. ETS occurs in the inner membrane. So 3. And proton gradient occurs in the your inner membrane would be 4. And this would be 3. So it's 2143. 2143 is option number 2. E. coli, DNA-dependent DNA polymerase works only in 5' to 3' direction. So answer would be option number 4 in this case. We go to the zoo section. Glucagon is an example of a polypeptide. It's not a steroid. So this is the answer. Presence or absence of hymen is not a reliable of virginity. That's correct. Hymen is toned during first coitus only is wrong, because it can be toned because of exercise also. So first statement is correct. Second is false. So answer would be option number 3. They have asked you what is an incorrect statement. Now, out of these 4, if you see, bioreactors are not for small scale cultures, they are for large scale cultures. So the incorrect statement is this. In this case, they have asked you what is the product of DNA dependent RNA polymerase by the given template. So here is your template. And if you do your match, I have done the match. The first one is the correct match of the DNA template, matlab the complementary one. So answer would be option number 1, which is just the match. Next, FSH acts upon ovarian follicles in female and Leydig cells in male. That's wrong. FSH does not act on Leydig cells in males. FSH acts on the Sertoli cells. So this is a wrong statement. Growing ovarian follicles secrete estrogen in females, while interstitial cells produce androgens in males. That's a correct reason. So assertion is false and reason is true. Next, typhoid is caused by bacteria. So A would be 4. You will have leishmaniasis, that is B would be, now in this 3 would be, it's a protozoan. Ringworm is a fungus, so C would be 1. There's only one option which matches here, and filariasis is a worm. So you have A431, A4B3, C1, D2. Following are the stages of the pathway of the conduction of the action potential. It has to start with the SA node. So it will start with E, which is 1. From SA node, it will go to the AV node. So E followed by C. There's only one option with that. So I'll straight away go to answer of option number 1. Now, diakinesis is something whereby the terminalization takes place. So A would be 2. B will be packetine, where recombination nodules. So A2, B4. Zygotine is synaptonemal, and leptotene is chromosomes which are thin threads. So it will be 2413, and 2413 is option number 3. The first one is an example of a striated muscle. Second is smooth muscle. The third is cardiac muscle. So it will be skeletal, smooth, and cardiac. Skeletal is found in triceps. Smooth is found in stomach, and cardiac is found in heart, which is our answer, option number 2. Now, non-medicated IoT would be Lippi's loop. So A would be 3. Copper releasing would be an example of 375 multi-load. So B would be 1. Hormone is progestogens. Rather, hormone would be LNG. So 4. And implants are progestogen. So it will be 3142. 3142 is option number 4 in this case. Next one would be lipase. Lipase is responsible for formation of ester bonds. So A would be T. Nuclease is phosphodiester. Protease is peptide bond. Amylase is glycosidic bond. So it will be 2413. 2413 would be option number 3. Breastfeeding during initial period of infant growth is recommended by doctors. This is the correct explanation, a correct assertion. And the reason is also correct because there is antibodies being passed on. So here the answer would be 1. The correct order, the oldest out of this would be Homo habilis. They have said the correct from past to recent. So it would be the oldest would be Homo habilis, followed by Homo erectus, followed by Neanderthal, followed by the habilis. So B would be last and A would be first. That's option number 4. Axoneme is found in cilia flagella. So 2, cartwheel is centriole, crista is found in mitochondria, and satellite is a part of chromosome. So 2143 and 2143 is option number 4. Now in 165 you will find pterophyllum is your angelfish. So A3. Myxine is hagfish. So B1. Pristis is your sawfish. And Exocetus is your flying fish. So it'll be 3124, which is option number 2. Alpha antitrypsin is used for the treatment of emphysema. So A would be 3. Now, Cry1AB is responsible for your corn borers. So B would be 4. Cry is for cotton, 1AC is for cotton, and enzyme is replacement is ADA deficiency. So it'll be 3, 4, 1, and 2. 3, 4, 1, and 2 is option number 3. TI plasmid stands for tumor-inducing plasmid. So option number 3 is the answer. Now, in this case, they have asked you to match the column with the example or the feature. Now, if you see pleurobrachia is an example of Ctenophora. Ctenophora would be A2. Radula is found in mollusca, that is 1. So B would be 1. C would be found in hemichordata, and air bladder is found in bony fish, Osteichthyes. So it will be 2, 1, 4, and 3. 2, 1, 4, and 3 would be option number 2. They have said not a natural method. Not vaults are not natural methods. So answer would be option 4. They have asked you find out the correct statement, a sequence. The correct sequence, it will always start with G1, which is E. So G1 followed by S, that is C, followed by G2, that is 3, followed by karyokinesis, followed by cytokinesis. So it will be E followed by C, followed by A. There's only one option in that. A constant gene pool does not disturb the equilibrium. They have asked you what does not disturb. So answer would be option number 4. Pons acts as a bridge, so connects the regions, A3. Hypothalamus has neurosecretory cells, so B4. Medulla is for control of respiration, and cerebellum is for posture. So it will be 3, 4, 2, 1, and 3, 4, 2, 1 is option number 2. In this case, would be answer would be option number 2. Now, expiratory capacity. Now, expiratory capacity is an example of expiratory reserve volume plus the tidal volume. So it will be 2. So A would be 2. Functional residual capacity is again the expiratory reserve volume with the tidal volume, or the so it will be residual volume plus the expiratory residual volume. Expiratory reserve volume plus the residual volume. So it will be B would be 4. Vital capacity is all the 3. So C would be 1. And inspiratory capacity would be an example of tidal volume plus the inspiratory reserve volume, that is D would be 3. So 2413. 2413 would be the answer. Which of the following are autoimmune disorders? Myasthenia gravis is, rheumatoid arthritis is, gout is not. So A and B are definitely there, and C and D are not there. Those SLE was not an NCRT point, but if you notice, there is A, B. So option C and statement C and D get ruled out. And C and D get ruled out, matlab this option and this option and this option gets ruled out. So answer has to be 2 in this case. Which of the following is not a component of the fallopian tube? Fundus is a part of the uterus, not a part of the fallopian tube. So answer would be option 1. Fibrous joints are found in the skull. So A would be 3. There's only one option which matches that. So straightforward answer. Flippers of penguins and dolphins are examples of analogous organs, and analogous organs are an example of convergent evolution. In the nephron, the descending loop of Henle's is impermeable to water is a wrong statement. It is permeable. The PCT is made up of columnar brush border. Wrong. It's made up of cuboidal brush border. So both the statements are false. Answer would be option 2. Anal cerci originate from the 10th segment in both the sexes. So answer would be option number 2 in cockroach. Formation of oxyhemoglobin occurs in the lungs, and in the lungs there is high PO2 and less H concentration. Answer would be option 2. In this case, if you see X is the ori gene and Y is the ROP gene. If X is ori, that means X is responsible for controlling the copy number and Y is responsible for producing proteins for replication. So in this case, our answer would be option number 2. Down syndrome is chromosome number 21. So A would be 3. And this directly gives you the answer of option number 3. Straightforward. We go to the next question. Annelids are true coelomates is a correct statement. Porphyrins are pseudo-coelomates is wrong because porphyrins are acoelomate. Ascalmenthes are pseudo-coelomates, so this is wrong. Platyhelminthes are acoelomate, so this is wrong. So the only statement correct is the statement A. Common cold is caused by rhinovirus, so A would be 3. Hemozoin is released by Plasmodium. Vidal test is for typhoid, and allergy is caused by dust mites. So it'll be 3, 1. So A3, again, straightforward. There is only one option. Cocaine is erythroxylon. So again, A3. And heroin is obtained from poppy. So B4. Again, if you see A3, B4, there's only one option. Gauss competitive exclusion principle states that closely related for different resources. That's wrong. They have to compete for the same resources. According to Gauss principle, during competition, inferior would be eliminated. That's correct. So first statement is wrong because of different resources. The second statement is correct. So in this case, our answer would be statement 1 is false, statement 2 is true. So answer would be option number 4. Which of the following is not? What are the following are the statements of non-chordates? This is not a feature of non-chordates. It's found in chordates. This is correct. Dorsal nervous system again is found in chordates. Dorsal heart is correct. Post-anal tail is correct. So B, D, and E are found in non-chordates. Answer would be option 3. Cerebral hemispheres are connected by a corpus callosum. That's correct. Brainstem, cerebrum is not a part of brainstem. So this is wrong. So statement 1 is correct. Statement 2 is incorrect. Answer would be option number 3. The structures used for that is crop food storage is crop. This is 6 to 8 blind tubules would be gastric CK, 150 is Malpighian tubules, and grinding is gizzard. So it will be 4, 2, 3, 1. 4, 2, 3, 1 is option number 1 in this case. Exophthalmic goiter is hypersecretion, so A would be 3. Acromegaly is growth hormone, so B would be 4. Cushing is cortisol, and cretinism is hyposecretion of thyroid. So it's 3, 4, 1, 2. 3, 4, 1, 2 is option number 4. We go to the next question. Juxtamedullary nephrons are located in the columns of Botany. Wrong. Renal corpuscles are present in the medulla. That's wrong. They are found in the cortex. Loop of Henle's is long in juxtamedullary and goes deep. That's correct. Juxtamedullary nephrons outnumber. That's wrong. They are few in number. Answer would be option number 3. Here they've asked you to find out the sequence. The first sequence would be substrate binding. So it will start with E, which results in the formation of enzyme substrate complex. So after E, your next step is A. There is only one option with E followed by A. Unicellular glandular epithelium is goblet cell. So A would be 3. Again, only one option with A3. Answer would be option number 2. Okay, now this was a tricky question. So you have to basically mark Mesozoic. Now, if you see Mesozoic, the reptilian era was the Mesozoic era. So there's only one option. A has to be 3. Now, Cenozoic era is the mammalian era. So C would be 4. Now, though it was a tricky question, if you know your A3 and C4, then you will have A3, C4, which is option number 4. Mitochondria and chloroplast, both are double membrane, is a correct statement. But the second statement is wrong. Here it says mitochondria is relatively less permeable as compared to chloroplast. It is reverse. Mitochondria is more permeable. So the statement 2 is an incorrect statement. So your answer, the first one is correct. The second one is incorrect. In this question, P wave is for the depolarization of atria. So A would be 3. QRS4 is for the depolarization of ventricle. So B would be 2. T wave is the repolarization. So C would be 4. And TP gap. Now here, if you go to see A3, B2 is straightforward option of option number 2. But TP gap is the gap between one ECG and the other ECG where there is nothing. So electrically silent. So answer would be option number 2. Bone marrow is the main lymphoid organ for all blood cells, which is a correct statement. Both bone marrow and thymus provide microenvironments for the development and maturation is a correct statement. So both 1 and 2 are correct. So the answer would be option number 1. We go to the next question. In this, the GnRH helps in the production of LH. It also helps in the production of FSH. LH works on Leydig cells, whereas FSH works on Sertoli cells. And factors produced by the Sertoli cells help in the process of spermiogenesis. So A would be FSH, B would be Leydig cells, C would be Sertoli cells, and D would be spermiogenesis. This is what is your option number 1. Now here, the child is O blood group. If the child is O blood group, that means the child has this type of genotype. This is the child's genotype. So these options get ruled out. These options get ruled out. Now, if child has these genes, matlab both the parents should have these genes. If both the parents should have these genes in them, so these options get ruled out. Answer would be option number, or rather A only would be the correct answer in this case. In the last question, RNA polymerase type 3 is responsible for the formation of snRNA. So A would be 4. Termination is with the help of Rho factor. So B would be 3. Splicing occurs with the help of ribonucleoproteins. So though snRNPs are not correct, are not NCRT, even this TATA is not a part of NCRT. It is, by the way, a promoter region. But A4 and B3 is something which is given only in one option, which is option number 4. So it is something which we can easily mark as the correct answer, which becomes your option number 4. So that is regarding the entire paper discussion. Overall, if you see, the paper was a pretty standard paper. The match the columns and statement based questions were more, which was on expected lines. So some people must have taken more time to solve it, but the match the columns were easy. Statement based questions were easy. 1 or 2 lines were very tricky. There were 3 questions or 3 facts which were non-NCRT, for example, Proterozoic era or Leishmaniasis or SLE, but they are part of those match the columns, whereby if you know one of the column, you can easily get the answer. So though they were non-NCRT concepts, they shouldn't be causing any mistakes in the paper because the match is very easy to do. So yeah, overall, a paper which can be solved easily if you keep a calm presence of mind. That is regarding the paper discussion for 2024 Q1. Thank you.